Good morning, students. So, today we move on to the next topic, that is meal planning and nutrition. To begin with, what is meal planning? We can say meal planning is the process of planning and making a schedule, that is a timetable, to meet the general and specific needs for food for all members of the family. So it has to be nutritionally planned diet so that the family can get the best nutrition, and the food should provide all the requirements for good health. And if there are some special conditions of any family member, like suffering from diabetes, heart disease, etc., the meal that they have should provide enough guidance, should be utilized properly. So today what we find is that meal planning has become much simpler, because today most of the time most of us live in nuclear families or small families, unlike olden days when we had joint families. So nuclear family mainly consists of husband, wife and children. So because of this, what we find is that people plan very simple meals, or too much variety is not needed, unlike a joint family where there may be grandparents, small children, aunties, uncles, etc. So for this reason, the housewife would have to be cautious, or should keep in mind the correct nutrient and nourishment according to the recommended dietary allowance for each member of the family. Unlike today, where we have small families, so it's not so difficult a task for the housewife. So to begin with, what are nutrients which is to be provided to each individual of the family through their meals? Nutrients, we can say, are small components of food that are consumed daily to be healthy, and this includes proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins and minerals, water and roughage, though not nutrients, but are very essential for performing the body functions or controlling the body functions. So for this, there are certain principles of meal planning which we must look into. All family members, as I was mentioning just now, may not be able to have the same nutrients. Like children eat less food than adolescents. The grandfather needs to avoid sweets, maybe because he is diabetic. So for the laborer needs, if somebody is doing physical work in the family, needs to be given food which will give more calories of energy. So for this reason, certain basic principles are there, which has to be followed by the housewife while planning a meal. First one, nutritional needs. The meal plan should provide each individual with the nutrients according to the table that is a recommended dietary allowance. For example, adolescents or young boys and girls need more nutrients as they have to grow, so their protein requirements are much more than an elderly person. So for this reason, young children need to be given milk, eggs, soya bean, and same is the case with a lactating mother or a mother who's about to give birth. So, and what about a patient who's undergone surgery? He or she would also need a high protein diet to promote speedy recovery. The calorie requirements are high, mainly among active children, that is boys and girls, athletes, laborers, as they do strenuous work. So they need more energy-giving food. ICMR nutrient recommendations should be followed for good health for the family members, and a change can be allowed if any family member is suffering from diarrhea or any other condition because of which he or she is not able to have normal health. The second principle while planning a meal is plan a meal for the day. This way the food and nutrients from different food groups has to be included, because in a day we have 3 to 4 meals. So if something is missing in one of the meals, some nutrient is missing in one of the meals, it can be added to the next one. And there should not be a repetition of the same food for each meal. Otherwise the food becomes boring. For example, if a person needs to have protein not from animal source, don't give that person dal repeatedly in every meal. If dal can be substituted with peas, rajma, paneer, Nutrella, granules, etc. So for this reason, a good meal planning is very essential so that people having the meal in the family members don't lose interest in food. Flexibility of menu. There should be scope for flexibility of meals. Like for example, if you're expecting a guest for lunch, you can serve the fruit custard as a dessert for the afternoon meal. You should be able to swap the bhindi and aloo palak as well. So what we find is that there is no fixed menu for lunch or dinner. We need to keep changing the menu. The menu should not be rigid. It should be flexible. We should be able to change the menu from time to time so that the meals become interesting. Variety in meals. The method of cooking can be changed. For example, if we look at breakfast, we cannot give a person daily just bread and jam. We can definitely give him bread, but sometimes we can toast it, sometimes we can make a bread roll with it, or we can make something different so that it becomes interesting. If the same thing is being served repeatedly, it becomes very boring for the family members. Same happens to the color of the food dishes. If the dish looks attractive, then definitely everyone in the family will be tempted to have it. But what we find is that many a times, like khichdi for example, we can have it with a lot of fried things if the person is of good health. But sometimes khichdi is also given to a sick person. In that case, definitely we have to avoid serving anything fried with it. So how do you make it interesting? In that case, we can flavor the khichdi with lemon with a slice of lemon. We can add some pudina to it to add a flavor to the khichdi. And at the same time, we find that these are things which are not harmful. So the same food has to be changed at times if there is a problem of health with any of the family members. Now, certain food, the texture of the food also matters. Certain food is preferred when soft. Certain food, we like it when it is hard. For example, papad, we don't like a soggy or a soft papad. We would always prefer a crisp or hard, I shouldn't say hard, a crisp papad. Same manner, a salad, a crisp salad, which we can bite into. But when we talk of something smooth or something soft, that is custard, definitely we are not going to prefer a hard custard. So in this manner, the texture of the food is also of importance. And not to say taste and flavor, which is relished by the family members, should be remembered while cooking the food. Because the smell, flavor, taste, especially like coffee, will definitely make the digestive system secrete more juices. And this will help in the absorption of nutrients. Conservation of nutrients. What we find is that at home, many times a lot of cooked foods may be left behind. We must not throw it. We must know how to reuse the leftovers. For example, there may be leftover dal, then there may be leftover what you call surplus chapatis. So how do we use it? We need not throw the dal. We can use it to make a dough with wheat flour, and out of that wheat flour we can make what you call nice parathas. So the leftover dal can be used. In the same manner, if the bread has become stale or old and is not soft anymore, we can make bread upma with it. So in this manner, we should not throw the leftover food. Seasonal foods definitely are more tasty within our budget. So families should always go and buy seasonal food, and if possible from wholesale markets, because that will be cheaper. Conserve nutrients by cooking methods. That is, we should save energy. For this, the dal, rice can be soaked before. We can knead the atta to make, one can use the water, right amount of water for cooking. And if there is some water left after boiling vegetables, that can either be used in the dal, or we can use it for making a dough with atta. Nutrient loss can be checked by not adding cooking soda, because it destroys the vitamins which is present in the food. So these are some of the principles we have to remember while cooking a meal. So keeping this in mind, we stop here. So with this we finish this topic today, meal planning and nutrition. We'll continue more in this chapter in our next class.